seen what infidelity can do to you.
Yeah.
Like infidelity will literally halt everything.
Yeah.
And God will expose you through things happening to you. Like you think, okay, things are on track. Jigu jigu ya jola outside your marriage. Next thing you know, things fall apart for you, but your partner is doing well. And you have to witness it happening. Whereas this was supposed to be a joint thing where you guys are both going through this season of God just doing things. But now you're having to congratulate your partner constantly.
And so another week comes, another one has just passed, and it's Friday. And guess what? It is time for Love, Marriage, and Family Podcast with Asmo and Pindi. And of course, time for another wonderful guest with us today. And do you want to tell us a little bit more about our guest?
Of course. Welcome, everybody. Once again, thank you for your subscriptions. And as we've been saying, we are pushing for 15K subscribers, and we are hoping that in the next couple of weeks we would have made that target. But yeah, we cannot thank you enough for supporting the podcast. And today we are excited to be bringing you the beautiful mother of two, who is a wife and who is a businesswoman and is a founder and a creative director of a fashion brand called Amari Women. She will be telling us all about that and her journey. And importantly, very important, she's the finalist of Mrs. SA, and she will also be taking us through that journey and how it's been for her since she started on the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mandisa Phuncu.
I love the fact that she says the surname so perfectly.
Yes.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you.
Oh my, Mandisa, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
It is so good to have you here. And yeah, we there's one thorn among roses today. So
Okay, should I step out?
Let's make it count. But man, welcome, Mandisa. It's so good to have you.
I appreciate you guys beyond measure. Thank you.
Awesome. We just want to take it back from the beginning. You know, a lot of people see this beautiful, colorful lady. You know that's you, right? Where did it all begin for you? Where were you born? Who is Mandisa? For someone who's watching this for the first time, who are you and where were you born?
So, Mandisa Nombilelo Magwa. Originally, that's my maiden surname. I'm originally from the Vows. I was born of Umbulelo and Umantuna Magwa. I was raised in a home that was filled with love and God. I was introduced to God by my parents. Oh, wow. That's literally how it all began for me, just being fully in love with God. And I've got a little brother, Ufana, and he's a married man with a little boy. I grew up in a home where my parents really just encouraged us to be the best that we possibly could be. We were not limited to, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be this, that, and the third. It was all about who you believed you were, because they were creatives themselves. My mom used to sew back in the day, and my dad was a writer, but he worked at correctional services. But he was a creative at heart. My mom was a creative at heart as well. But they worked normal, stable jobs, but they punted forward the concept of, if you are a creative, pursue that fully. And when I needed to go to university, I said, I want to study psychology because I want to be a doctor. My dad was like, but you're a creative. You love clothes.
Yeah.
Go into it.
Yeah.
And I refused to listen, guys. I was like, I want to fix problems. I want to be the go-to person for everyone. And I went to go study. And when I was done, my dad was like, and then, Manje? What are you going to do? And in all honesty, the retail bag, the clothing bag kept biting me. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to work in a store. A lot of people really shunned upon me and said, but you studied, you've got a qualification.
Yeah.
Why are you in store? And I was like, but this is my passion. I want to understand the business side of things where this is concerned. And I went into it, and my parents were for it because they understood the whole idea behind it. But to pull it back as well, we grew up in a church where we were encouraged to really just explore our talents. And we were in a church called a Rock of Ages.
Oh, wow.
Rock of Ages Global Ministries, headed by Maneti Chaba and Joseph Chaba at the time. And we were part of a youth group called Trendsetters, and we were trendsetters. In that region, we were trendsetters, guys. We explored ourselves from poetry. I was into poetry. I was in love with the art, still am.
Wow.
And we had a crew, my friend and I had a crew called Mloetry, inspired by Floetry. So she used to sing and I used to write. And we would perform based on music and poetry in itself. And what I loved about that is that it drew the youth closer, because we didn't want to approach Christianity from a point of you cannot explore who you are, and that God can't use who you are as you are, you know? And so when we started doing things like that, we started seeing people being drawn to the church more, and we started dancing as well within the church. We started seeing people doing that in our region as well, because they were exploring their talents without any bounds, and also being used by God, because that's what our church really punted forward, that what God has placed within your hands, He can use. Come as you are. There's no need to fix yourself. And that's genuinely what we did. We had people coming with their pants sagged. Nobody was like, you cannot approach God in that
this
manner.
is not how we're supposed to look.
We allowed God to do the work that He needed to do with people, but we needed to be representatives of Him. And that's what I grew up around. When June would hit, my dad knew he had to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning and drop us off at church so that he can go to work and come back after church to come fetch us after practices. That's literally what we grew up on. And my parents were for it. They really wanted us to explore ourselves in our full entirety without any bounds. And that's what I was like growing up. Talent, we explored.
Sounds like lots of fun.
Sounds like lots of fun, lots of color.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Which obviously, I mean, you went to school, as you said, but then you felt the bug, the fashion bug. How did you marry those two?
So what had happened was I was in retail for 13 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And around 2021, God kept saying it's time to leave.
Yeah.
It's time to, and I kid you not, He kept saying it's time to leave. And because I know so much, I believe I am so sure of where He's taking me, and the fact that, oh my gosh, I've got children. How do I live stability just so I can go and pursue a business that I'm not certain of? But then in 2022, I was left with the decision of, do you want to stay here working and be demoted, or do you want to go pursue what God has called you for? And I chose to just take the risk and say, retrench me, it's fine. Let me go work for myself outside. And the moment I did that, I saw doors opening, guys. And in all honesty, I started learning how to sew through YouTube. People think you cannot learn, but you can learn anywhere. If something is your calling, you just need to literally be intentional about it and really pursue it wholeheartedly. And I just went to YouTube and I YouTubed anybody that I could find that sews. And the moment I saw Mimi G sews, that's when I started learning. And I started the business, registered it, and it just flew
like
after
that.
that. It flew after that. And it was open door after open door, open door after open door, and destiny helper after destiny helper. And more than anything else, Amari Woman is about bringing out confidence within women. It was not just about looking good. The ultimate goal is for a woman to feel her ultimate best. And when I have a consultation with women, it gets into prayer moments, it gets into counseling, it gets into what do you need, how can I help you? And by the time we're done, the design is done, yes. But then we've spoken about life and we've known each other for years. And that's what I love about Amari Woman. Hence, it's she who possesses great strength. It's about pulling that out of
someone
through clothing. And that's how I married it. What I had learned from retail within my years, I took that and I started just learning how to sew. Next thing you know, the business just skyrocketed when I took the risk. But honestly, when you place your plans within God's hands and allow Him to direct your path and tell you what you ought to do, amazing things happen. And I've seen Him just show off. Literally show off.
But isn't it amazing how sometimes God puts you in a corner? in order for you to do what you are meant to do. Because had it not been for retrenchment, you probably were still going to be, just holding on to a job because obviously you're afraid, of taking that last first step. Obviously, I represented today. I
love it,
in terms of African print.
I love it.
Because I know how you love African print.
Very much.
Tell me about that. How did that? Because I think one of the things that is your signature as a designer is how you adjust for African print. What is the inspiration behind that?
My grandmother. There was a way your Meo guys used to wear a doek. Like, I don't know how she didn't even use pins. She never used anything to create flowers on those.
But she'll make anything.
She would make it look so good.
Wow.
Whenever she had Sishweshwe on, and I'd be like, yo, Meo Nana guys. That was my grandmother. And she knew she was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
And she embraced it through her African aesthetics. And for me, that's where I fell in love beyond measure. And also my mom dresses so well, guys.
Yeah.
Like, she was, whenever she'd leave with my dad, they go out maybe for an event, whatever the case may be. I'd stay at home with my brother and I'd raid her closet.
Yeah.
And I'd dress up. We didn't have phones back then, so I wish we had phones to take pictures of ourselves. But I used to raid her closet so much and try to, embody who she is, because she's also very strong. So I'd also try to embody that through the clothing that she would have in the closet. But beyond that, it was my grandmother and her African aesthetics. She never compromised.
Oh, wow.
Like every single event we went to, and I'm like, this woman.
Oh.
And like for me, that was an inspiration beyond measure. And
Yeah.
I had to embody that as well, because that's what I lived through. Like that's what I saw growing up. And she made it look good.
Oof, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. What does Amari mean?
Amari means strength, possesses strength.
Okay.
So it's an Arabic word that means possesses strength. So I wanted to really speak to women and say, I see you as this.
Yes.
So hence Amari woman, but now we've got Amari men as well.
Yes.
But it's inspired by how my husband dresses. So he's a
wow.
minimalist. So I really love how he dresses, where he'd just wear a shirt and a chino and it'd look fly.
Yes.
Do a whole blazer. And
Yeah.
it's just, there's a way in which he puts together outfits. He makes it look effortless. He looks like a model. For me.
Doesn't things work better for good? I mean, imagine designer, now you have a model in your house.
You don't have to pay for. You'll pay them otherwise.
Exactly.
Okay,
But I know. Had to say that.
It's legal.
You guys, your minds. Oh God. So
you started it.
So you telling us about him and all of that. When did that journey begin with him? Yeah.
So firstly, I never imagined getting married to a Xhosa man, guys. Let's just start there. My dad at our wedding was like, it's the exhale for
I
me.
know.
That makes the two of us.
I know.
But wasn't it the best decision ever?
It was.
Oh,
In
see how
hindsight,
she turned that
it
around?
was.
See how she turned that around?
It's because you know this, though.
I love it. I thought I was the only one. So I remember my dad at the wedding mentioned that. I'm like, dude, my in-laws are sitting here. You cannot mention the fact that you're shocked I brought a Xhosa man home. You cannot say such
They're
things.
here now.
But it all started out at Sandton City. So he was a regional manager for his company.
Yeah.
And every time I see this man, he is like this. And I'm like, why is he shouting at people so much? He's so rough. Only to find he's a motivational man, guys. Like he's motivating people and he's so passionate with how he speaks.
Yes.
But then we had an interview together. And I kept saying, okay, whatever interview he's going for, I'm getting the job regardless. I had told myself that.
Tell me,
this is a job
you
interview.
went for a job interview.
Together.
For the same position.
For the same position. And I got it, of course. But Asikolap.
You got it because of affirmative action.
Come on, Mandisa. I need that scoop. That must have been tough, though.
It was tough for him because he
Yeah.
really wanted that job. He did.
Oh,
He even
man.
came to introduce himself, and I stood there. I'm like, oh, it's you again. But let me tell you guys, this man has been going around the center telling people, I'm going to marry this girl. I just arrived in Joburg in 2014. You don't know me from a bar of soap.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you're
my
telling
word.
people that you're going to marry me. I'm your wife. Nobody must touch you. I'm like, why is this guy
Who are
going-
you?
Who are you? Who told you could say things like this? So he's going around telling, and his friends are coming to me, and I don't know. I'm like, guys, and Maz, I don't know this man. Like, how does he think he can tell me he's gonna marry me? I just came from the Val, and
Yeah.
I'm
Oh my
trying to learn this
gosh, you know what I
environment.
mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he's telling people this. And in 2015, we eventually go to the interview. He introduces himself officially now.
Oh, wow.
In my mind, I'm like, oh, so you're the guy that thinks he's gonna marry me.
Yeah.
Good luck. But anyway, so he introduces.
Look at you now.
So then he eventually introduces himself, and I sit there and I'm like, oh, such a pleasure to meet you. Great, sharp, you're that guy. And then eventually time goes, I get the job, and we start working together. But how we work together is that he was in a different region.
Okay.
He got a job elsewhere in the same
Oh,
company,
I
though.
see.
But I got the
Okay.
job that we were both
That you
gunning
wanted.
for.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So now we're going for training, and he's tossing bones, guys, telling me how he's a family man. But I can tell he's really trying to, lure me in. But I'm like, I'm not gonna bite. I need to hear more. And
Yes.
he's telling me more about himself, his family life, his parents, his mom. And I love the fact that he loves his mom so much.
Yeah.
And just how strong of a man his dad is, and just how much he took charge of their family, and for me that spoke volumes because of where he came from.
Yeah.
And then I was like, maybe corny.
Maybe it's not bad after all.
Maybe there's something here. Next thing you know, in 2 months, after dating eventually, then he goes to me and he's like, okay, let me speak to your mom. Can I have a meeting with your mom? And I'm like,
What?
for what? It's been 2 months. Just wait. I don't know you that well, And he's like, no, I want to talk to your mom. Only to find he wants to give her a letter to take home to my parents.
What?
Yeah. He wants to give her a letter and say, please give this to my dad rather. And eventually that meeting happens, and we set a date to say, okay, cool, we're going to get married.
Wow.
And one thing led to another, and life happened.
Here we are.
And here we are, and we got married. Yeah. and we
Oh
got
my!
married.
After how long though?
We had literally been dating for 2 months. We'd been getting to know each other since June when the training started. And then around October is when we started dating. And around, say, December or so, that's when he
Yeah.
wanted to meet my mom. And I'm like, dude, that is quick. But okay.
That is so
Yeah.
quick for someone that,
That was-
you never
yeah.
saw yourself marrying.
I didn't see myself marrying him at all. But honestly, when he started talking, and the fact that he was so business orientated, and how he was open to the idea of a woman being in business, and
Yeah.
him willing to carry that as
Yeah.
well, I was like, that is really, like, honestly, you never hear of a man being willing to take that role to say, look, I'm willing to back you.
Yeah.
I'm willing to back my wife because I prayed for this. I know she's a businesswoman. I don't know her yet, but obviously he knew because I kept saying it. But he was like, I'm willing to back my wife no matter what. And I was like, that is strong. That is powerful.
that is powerful.
One of the things, very striking thing, I must say, that I don't know, that I noticed, because we went obviously through your socials,
Yes.
and especially Instagram, and is his absence, on your Instagram. Is that intentional? What are your views about, or maybe is that a position that you guys took? What are your views on, posting each other, or I mean, you don't even have to say couple goals, but I mean,
Yes,
just
it's
this
there.
is, you know what I mean?
He's present in that a lot of the videos that I post are shot by him, and I always credit him.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So he's the camera guy.
Yeah. So he's present in that he and I work together. Yes, I shoot a lot of the videos myself.
Yeah.
But when it comes to really intricate angles and the things that that you'll see that look like it's
Yes.
cinematic, that's him, because he's very creative. He's just like me as well. We're very similar in that sense. He's a very creative person. He is passionate about visuals. He sings as well. So he's in that field. So he's present in that sense. But I've chosen not to be to put us out there, mainly because of a rift that happened, and I chose to be private about our marriage. I post what I need to, especially when I need to appreciate him and really show people that this man has been present in my life.
Yeah.
But those moments, I'm very intentional
Yeah.
because people need to know that I'm not doing it alone.
Yes,
You know, I
yes.
may not say Amari Woman by Mandisa and Okuhle, but he's very present in the business meetings,
Yeah.
in the creative moments, in the I need to go shoot at a taxi rank. He has to say, okay, so how are you going to be safe? How are you going to do this? Who's going to do that for you? So
Yes.
he's very, I'd say, very intentional and very involved in those moments.
Yeah.
But when it comes to me speaking of our marriage and what's happening, I'm very careful in what I share.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very protective of it as well. I feel like I if you were to track back into my social media, I was very open.
Yeah.
And then life happened. And then I realized I need to protect this.
I get
It's
you.
mine. It belongs to
Yeah.
us. And he's very open. He shares.
Yeah.
He shares on his social media. But for me, I'm very private about it. I choose to protect it. It's mine. I know what's happening in it. It's ours.
I get
Yeah.
you.
That's all it is. But honestly, he's in this Amari Woman, in Amari Men, he's
Yeah.
very,
behind.
he's very, very operational in it.
Yeah.
Because he's very business minded as well.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Very, yeah.
I'm curious about the rift. What happened?
I'm curious about the rift. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking the viewer,
We're not gonna let you go.
the viewer heard the word rift and wants to know, you know. No, just in
What
general.
did you do?
That's a deep question. I'd say, how do I put it without something really unfortunate happened that caused me to wonder if this was it.
Okay.
Yeah. It made me question whether I was actually supposed to be here or not. And I was
As in what? The marriage?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
The marriage in itself. An unfortunate situation happened that had me questioning whether I was loved or appreciated. And I thought to myself, was I supposed to be here? Was it a mistake? Or did I open up myself too much? Because sometimes, you know, people see you're happy and you talk about indaba zakho in terms of, oh, my husband is this, my husband is that. And there are people who sabawell it, you know? They will sabawell it
Careful,
without
yeah.
knowing that it takes work to be able to speak like that. I don't speak of how amazing things are because they just became amazing. There was work.
Journey.
There was a journey, you know, because like I said, we got married in 2 months. We didn't know each other. There was a lot that we had to go through in order to get to a point of, oh, I'm in such a beautiful place. But people don't understand what had to happen before for us to get there. And so when life happened and that unfortunate situation happened that had me questioning whether I am loved, when we got out of it, then I decided I'm no longer sharing anymore. You know, I don't think people deserve to know the ins and outs of my marriage. Yes, I love talking about the fact that this is of God and that Utikwa really called it for us. But not everything needs to be put out there. There's certain things I can share, but I need to protect my marriage now because there are people who saba well, you know,
Yeah.
and they don't have good intentions. And
So how do you pebeza? You know?
Ngomthandazo.
Pray, baby.
You know, because I tell you why I'm asking that question, because we meet a lot of couples and sometimes not even couples but married people, you know, who would be on that zone that, you know what, I'm good. You know, others would actually say, my husband, it's usually men, my husband is very, very private, you know, and therefore doesn't want to be splashed all over the place and so forth. But one of the problems that comes with is the many slides on the DMs
of people who may think you're
by
single.
people who think you are single, and with you being, well, you are Mrs., but I mean, for somebody who obviously would not, post. I also noticed that you don't wear rings, as well. So you can't blame a single man out there. You are
Ring
beautiful.
or not, they will still approach you. Ring or not, they still approach. Nobody respects
with or without the ring.
Nobody respects it at all. But one of the reasons why I don't wear my ring is because let me tell you a funny story. The night before, my husband was looking at my hand. It's like, oh, you need to get a new ring, and I was still wearing the ring at the time. And then the next day, I come to church, guys. No boost.
Yep.
My diamond fell off. I don't know where. I have no idea where it fell. Like, I fetched her at the house.
Yeah.
It was there. Like, everything was
my
intact.
word.
I get to church, and I'm like, guys, what
Where
happened?
do you even start looking?
And the thing is, the night before, I said to my husband, from your lips to God's ears. That's all I said, because he says he's getting me a new ring.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the diamond falls off. So I haven't been wearing it because of that.
So
yeah.
So that's the sign that we need. Where's the camera? We need a new ring.
You heard?
You see, Mr. Phuncu, we need a new ring. That's
Please.
a sign from God.
Thank you. And he knows it. I sent him a picture the next day, that moment. And I was like, dude, like, this is what we spoke about. And so God is like, it needs to happen. But when it comes to people approaching me, they've never stopped. Even when I was married. When I had my ring
Your
on.
ring, yeah.
Honestly, they continued to DM me.
Yeah.
Even when it's gone, they continue to DM me. But here's the thing. For me, what has kept me not to respond to such, because I can tell when a person is getting to that point, especially when they can see, okay, she's business orientated, so let's approach her with that. Then they'll be smart and then sneak in through that. And then I'll respond, have conversations. Next thing you know, dude, this is not what we were trying to do. But for me, what keeps me from being disciplined is my fear of God. And I'm not just saying this because we go to the same church. Genuinely, my fear of God. I've seen what infidelity can do to you. Like, infidelity will literally halt everything. And God will expose you through things happening to you. Like, you think, okay, things are on track. Jigu outside your marriage. Next thing you know, things fall apart for you, but your partner is doing well. And you have to witness it happening. Whereas this was supposed to be a joint thing where you guys are both going through this season of God just doing things. But now you're having to congratulate your partner constantly. It's always about your partner, but not you. God will show you that it's not okay. And I've seen that growing up as well with people around me, that infidelity will destroy you as the individual. Yes, the marriage will find itself in a really unbalanced place, and the person who has to experience that infidelity will feel like they're not loved and appreciated, yes, but the person who's doing it gets to suffer more because that's a trauma for them. Now they have to watch their partner go through God doing things for them. I've seen it, I've experienced it, and in all honesty, that's what has stopped me from ever doing it. I don't want to ever find myself Utiko having to block or probably delay what ought to happen because I decided to make a decision based on my lust and desires. Was there a point in my marriage where I felt alone? Yes. Where I felt lonely? Yes. Where I had a longing for certain things? Yes. But what stopped me from doing what I should not be doing because of the vows that I made was my fear of God. God sees it all. And if there's anybody who can hide infidelity, is a woman. I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah.
Women can do it in a smart way, slick, without you knowing, because we can eat and wipe our mouths. You never know. But
it's all over the mouth.
Men don't wipe.
They don't wipe. They don't wipe. Women can balance out, guys. We know how to balance things out so well. We know we're wise in that sense.
You are scaring me.
But it's the truth.
You better behave. You best be behaving.
I don't know what to wipe. I'm like, man.
It's the truth. Women can wipe their mouths, but my fear of God for me, that's what kept me from not doing it. In all honesty, the truth of the matter is that when I think of what could happen, I've seen it happen to people. And I'm like, I don't want to find myself in this situation. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to say I'm without sin. There are points at which I know for a fact God needs to fix this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, I am scared of God and what he can do. Because he will pull back. He will pull it back and wait for you.
Yeah.
To come to him, to admit it, to fix what he needs to fix in you.
Sure.
And before that happens, you will wait. You will wait.
And that waiting period is isolating.
Probably the toughest.
It's traumatic.
Yeah.
It's traumatic. I like what you said about the what did you say? The problem does not only, or is not only evident with the person that is being cheated on, but the person doing the cheating, the trauma that they get. In other words, this thing is a double-edged sword.
It's both
you
ways.
know, and that's very, very powerful because more often than not, people don't look at it that way. Don't look at, the fact that this thing affects the person doing it.
Yeah.
Because, we only look at that person as a perpetrator. We don't look at them from a victim point of view.
Yes.
As well. That's a very interesting.
And there's, even in situations like that, not to say that it's okay to go
No, of
outside,
course.
ne? But when a person does go outside, as a person who's been gone outside of, is that the English?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
You need to also do self-reflection.
Oh, yes.
It's
of
important
course.
to also look at yourself. I'm not saying that you deserve it. Nobody deserves to be cheated on. Nobody deserves to be hurt. Nobody deserves to have somebody go and embarrass them.
Yeah.
But you should also have the mirror before you and ask yourself, what did I contribute? Maybe? Because there probably may be traumas that you're carrying that you brought into the marriage that need you to work on. Maybe that's what triggered certain things and you don't know it, and it's self-work. Self-work is not easy, it's painful. When you have the mirror in front of you, it's the most toughest thing ever because you get to see yourself in ways you've never seen yourself. But it's needed because you need to grow. It's pruning. Pruning is not easy, but pruning is necessary because when you get pruned, something else grows out of that, And it's important in as much as that person is also going through their own things, understand that you are going through your own things. And the cheating also erupts certain things in you that you need to come face to face and say, I need to fix this. And you can't fix it yourself. You need to approach the person who created you. If there's anything that God once told me is that, who are you to try to fix that person? They're not yours. They're mine.
It's not your job.
Surrender them to God. And for me, within my marriage, what I've come to learn is surrendering my husband to God.
And let God
deal. Do I get, let God deal, do I get angry and hurt? Have things really traumatized me within my marriage? But there's very little that I can do. I can only ever hand him over to God and say, God, do what you need to do with him. If there's something that he needs to realize, let him realize it and he'll come back. And he always does. And as much as I do the same thing as well, there are moments where he'll tell me, I don't like this, I don't like that. And of course, in that moment, because you're being reprimanded, you're like, oh my gosh. But when you sit with yourself, God speaks to you. And that's when you come back and you say, yes, you were right. Actually, I messed up here. I need to really fix this, But surrendering your partner to God is important because marriage teaches you grace. Grace is tough, guys. That thing, I don't know how God does it.
Wow.
Listen, I always say, Guti, I think actually God Nje used marriage to sort you. You know what? I'm going to put this person in your life so that, there's something that we always say that marriage is not meant to make you happy, but to make you holy. And a lot of people don't get it. We're not saying they're not supposed to be love in marriage, but we're talking about the process of marriage. That it's there to actually get you as closely as possible to God. You know what I mean? So it means there will be things that will be chiseled, that will be taken out of you. Selfishness, for example, a whole lot of other things. You know what I mean?
A whole lot of other things like patience.
Like,
God, one of the ways God deals with me with patience is that He gave me Pindi.
you know what I mean? And that was all God's plan. I'm telling you.
I'm like, hey, we need to leave.
But she's here.
But she's here.
But look at her now.
Listen.
Look at her now. Thank God.
It's because God wants me to come to Him at my best.
Yeah.
He just wants to.
And eventually work me to be at
You know what I
his
mean?
best.
Look at you. You're looking
But
holy.
anyway.
But coming back to, I like what you just said, about, how marriage is really meant to work something in you.
Yeah.
You said something about grace and how marriage is just meant, to do that to you. The past 8 years, you've been married for 8 years now, and a mom to beautiful, beautiful boys. I love your boys. Thank you. They're so cute. Sometimes you're like, are they boys? That's how cute they are. So how has that journey been for you? Yes, you got engaged after 2 months and things happened so fast for you. And boom, motherhood. You have these 2 beautiful boys. How have they changed your life?
My little boys. Yeah. Those boys are just everything, guys. They're so God-sent, like every child, of course. But those children brought me to myself, They brought me to myself in that I had to understand that the role of being a mom is not who I am, They made me realize that is me literally imparting of God to them, but there is still me to still consider, My children know I'm a creative at heart, and they punt that forward so much. Those children will remind, when are you making a dress, mommy? They've brought me to myself so much, especially the little one. He spoke at a very young age, I think like just before he hit 1, he was already talking. I'm not exaggerating. I've got videos to prove this. And my dad always says, the reason why he spoke at such a young age is because God needed to speak to you through him. And he speaks through that boy. He speaks through that boy. Just a few weeks ago, the nuts came out, right? And the wheel would have fallen off. But just, I think 2-3 days before that, he goes out to go play, but then he comes back, And he's like, Mommy, you need to pray against everything that's trying to destroy this family and trying to kill you.
Sure.
Like this child. I kid you not. Like, he speaks with so much conviction. He speaks, like God literally speaks through him. Like I call him my beacon, because I always ask him, so what do we need to do here? He will tell you straight up, this is what you need to do. God says you should do this. I kid you not. My children have brought me to myself in so many ways. They remind me of who I am. They remind us of what we need to be doing for the family, who's who in the family, especially the little one. Kwando Kuhle is sent from God. Like, God brought that boy to bring so many things to our attention that we would naturally just toss to the side. My boys literally allowed me the ability to be okay with my gentleness. And I say that because my eldest boy is so gentle. He's a gentle spirit. That's what I call him. I call him the gentle spirit, because he is so content with his emotions. He's very open about them. He does not hold back. If he feels like this is not okay, he will tell you this is okay. It is not okay. This is how it makes me feel. They make me feel okay with being who I am, because so much of me has come into them. In fact, with my husband as well, he and I are so similar. He's a visionary. He dreams a lot. And so that came into the little one. And so seeing that in them makes us okay with being who we are. They give us the permission to be that without feeling like we're weird in how we are. So that honestly that's what they did for us. They brought us to ourselves and gave us the contentment thereof. That's what they did.
I think being a mom to boys is just the most beautiful thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I love how boys show.
It's just
It's the most, you know why? It's because when your boys love you, you know
They
it.
love you.
You don't even need to question. You don't even need to ask. You know what I mean?
As a dad to girls, when girls
Oh, darling. But it's like that, guys.
they
Like,
love
it's important for us to recognize that, because in that boy, when you're a boy mom, you're their first girlfriend. You're the first point of what love needs to look like.
Yes.
How you allow them to treat you is how they're going to be treating their wives.
Yes.
You know, and in the same way, I grew up very close to my dad. Very, very close to him. He was my first boyfriend.
Yeah.
I learned what love was when my dad and I were like, you know, growing up. I remember at the wedding he said,
Wow, that's so good.
you know, at the wedding he said, "Oh, I'm so happy finally I don't have to go on dates with this girl." He said, like, dude, you cannot expose me like that. Because he's been asking, when are you bringing a husband home? When are you bringing a husband? He kept saying that because we're constantly doing dates. So he was like, I'm tired of doing dates with you. Can you bring someone?
I've got my woman. I've got your mom. You know what I mean?
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's so cute, though.
So it's important for you guys to feel that way with your children, because they need to learn it from you first without learning it from the world. There's so many children who have to go look for it outside because they didn't have it, you know, be it from a father or a mother figure, or mothers or fathers in general. They didn't have that. So to have that from you is so powerful. I can't wait to have a little girl. God willing. But my mom-in-law said to me, your name was Mandisa, you're here to add more through boys. And I was like, I'm not going to have girls? Like, no, you're not having girls, you're having boys. Because we need boys in this.
Listen, we will always need a little Mandisa running around.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
You know?
You need something to dress up.
You know,
and decorate.
Listen.
You know, I've seen your daughter. I'm like, I want that too.
Mini-me is coming. We cannot allow that.
Exactly, amen. And
You know?
You know,
We can't allow that.
you one of the things, I mean, you're saying, I'm enjoying this so much, you know, by the way. One of the things you say, you know, obviously about your dad and your relationship with your dad and how that affects, you know, your behavior and even expectations.
Oh, yes.
You know, on your husband, and how does that work out? I'm not asking whether or not he matches your dad's expectations. I'm really asking about your upbringing in terms of your relationship with your dad and how that affects, you know, how you relate to your husband.
So with my husband, Shem, I feel so sad for him because he definitely had to match up. But here's the thing, right? My dad and I, yes, grew up very close. We still are very close. My parents call me 15 times a day. I'm not exaggerating, guys.
Wow.
Like, my parents
you are
call
the
me a
firstborn,
lot.
right?
I am a Fungwasha, guys.
Yeah.
And the only girl. So
And the only girl.
Makes sense.
So you'll always be the little girl.
Yeah.
Please tell them I'm the eldest, though. Like, please remind them.
I'm grown up. I'm a mom.
Guys, just understand that.
You know?
But so number one, firstly, you'll always marry your husband.
Yeah.
You know, your dad rather.
Yeah.
It's not something that you tell yourself. It may not be how your dad looks, but there'll be something about your dad that you will
Qualities.
run after. Yeah, it will be there. Like, it will be something. And I didn't realize it until we were knee deep in the marriage. That I actually married my dad. In that, my husband is very motivational. He's a wordsmith.
Yeah.
Like, he knows how to say things for you to wake up and realize who you are. That's my dad. My dad is a poet, so he's a writer.
Oh, yes,
like, when he
he's
speaks,
a writer.
you know, when he speaks, he's got a way of molding words in a way that, okay, I see it happening for me. My husband is the same way as well. My husband is also very protective of what he sees in you, so he will try to protect it before you protect it yourself. My dad is exactly the same way. My husband is very strict, even to me. To my children, my dad is exactly the same. He's strict. My husband, guys.
You for
He's a
real?
Xhosa man.
He doesn't look very strict.
He's very strict.
For real?
Like, when he says, I've said this, but he says it, okay, he's very passionate. So you will expect a raised voice. You must know, like, when he speaks, he said it, and this is the word, and let's continue with life. And that's it. And that's my dad.
Yes.
But,
so you basically look for your dad.
I did, and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it until it happened. But he thought for a very long time, he felt like it wasn't the case because he felt like, your dad is this, your dad is that. How am I going to match up to this? In my mind, I'm like, but you're already doing it. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
You already like him.
You already like him. Even the way he says my name, Mandisa, I'm like, yo, when he says that, I know I'm in trouble. Something needs to be fixed and I don't know what it is and I'm not ready.
I'm going to look for it.
Yo, I'm already just like, what happened? Because if he doesn't say baby, Mandisa, I care, it's over. I need to know something is happening here. And he says it like my dad.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize it, but I did. I remember when I was pregnant with our first, we got robbed. And the first things that I said was, my dad would have, lost his mind if this was happening, da, 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 da. And he felt like he was not protecting us the way my dad would have, but genuinely he did. He didn't realize it. And I needed to, I'm like, but you did exactly what you would have needed to do, just like my dad would have done, You may have not done what he would have done as him, but you did what you needed to do to protect us. And that's perfectly fine. But beyond that, in as much as, yes, you marry your dad, it is important as women to understand that our men come as who they are. They weren't raised by our dads. And having that grace as well for that is important. And I needed to have that because, of course, like in the beginning, I didn't see it because I'm getting to know this person, We hadn't been together for that long. But as time went on, I started realizing, no, man, he's pretty much like my dad, whether I choose to accept it or not. Like, he's very much like him.
Wow.
He speaks like him, his mannerisms, just how he molds his words, exactly just like my dad. That's exactly what I needed. It was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially being a daddy's girl and moving into obviously this new phase of your life.
Yes.
But did you not have, I don't know what's the better word of putting it, but did you not have attachment issues? Getting married means that you are leaving your mom and dad, and you being the daddy's girl. How did that work out? That dynamic in terms of?
Are you still struggling?
Don't expose me. I would say I did. I definitely did. Especially when they had to leave me ekaya for the full month, I cried like a baby.
You mean in the Eastern Cape?
Yes, when they had to leave me.
Oh, yeah.
I cried like a little baby. I sobbed. My father-in-law had to be the one like, "That's about right. So we're going to." And I know you. And the thing is, my father looks like my uncle. I keep telling him, like, are you sure we're not related? Like, if you and I were to stand together, like, you'd say that's my dad. My dad is not my dad. He's my dad.
Yeah.
That's what you think. But he held me so tight and he was like, no, you're going to be fine. Don't worry. You're going to actually enjoy yourself. You're going to want to stay here.
Yeah.
And genuinely, that's exactly what happened. But I did. I struggled for quite some time. Because number one, I didn't move out of home. I didn't want to. And my parents kept telling me to move out of home. You have to move out of home. You have to figure yourself out. And I struggled with that. Yeah. And so when I had to go get married, and that meant moving out of home, that was hard for me.
Yeah.
It was not easy at all. My husband saw the struggles. He experienced the struggles because, of course, like when it all started out, I did do comparisons as to where I come from versus where I am.
Yeah.
And he had to assure me that this was a good decision. He constantly had, but obviously because he's a man, he's got his pride. Yeah. It was not easy for him to take in and see me struggle the way I did. Yeah. But he tried. He really tried, and I tried as well. But eventually, like I said, once we were knee deep in the marriage, that's when I realized, no, man, I'm fine. I married that person that I was close with. Yes, there were struggles as the marriage went on, but naturally, that's part of the growth. There are without labor pains, you can't take anything out. You need to go through the labor pains. It's important to get to this point. But beyond that, I had to surrender as well in my marriage. And that was through my husband having to remind me of his role as well. Yeah. I needed to when he kept telling me my role is to do this and this for you, do this and this for the family, and you need to allow me to do it. Yeah. It was hard for me to do that because I've been so independent all my life. Like when I started working, I was able to do things for myself. And so having to allow him to play his role was very hard. Yeah, it was very hard. That was one of the introspections that I needed to do for myself, to say, look, this is your part in the marriage.
Yeah.
And this is his part. And for him to be comfortable where he is, you need to allow him to play his role, which was hard. But yeah, like it was a struggle in the beginning, but we're here.
And I think for most women, it is a struggle. Because as women, we grow up independent most of the time. So having to allow this person to lead
Sure. Ainzima.
could be hectic, you know what I mean? Because now it means, like you said, you need to surrender and allow this other person to basically take over.
Play his role,
you
much
know?
like in our walk with God.
Yes.
Much like that.
It's the same surrender, actually.
Yeah.
Because even with God, I think there are times where we feel like we need to press the buttons. We need to do X,
And he
Y,
lets
Z, and until a time where you feel like,
To
can
find
God
surrender.
just do what he needs to do?
You know,
You
and
know
that's
what
what
I
he
mean?
wants from us. And
Which takes me to this beautiful sash you are wearing. Mrs. South Africa, you actually are a finalist
yes.
for Mrs. SA, which means we actually could be sitting with the actual Mrs. SA 2024
God willingly.
in a few days. You know what I mean?
So I just want to ask, are your parents both South African?
Yes.
Okay.
They are. Ah, no, can't Johnny, bro. Oh, wow.
Just
If we're going down into roots, guys, are we all South Africans?
Lalela. This one I'm not going to entertain.
sorry, I had to.
Yeah, because we don't want this interview to be taken down. And we're being told, no, she's not from the Vow.
Yeah.
She's
You
from
know-
Zim,
yeah.
South
But
Africa.
please,
She's not Mandisa, she was Mandish. Or
And then
something
she
like
changed
that.
it.
no, this one is true. This one is real. So, Mandisa, take me through your journey. So, nowhere in your childhood, I know you were a very creative child, but at no point have you mentioned, taking up modeling at some point, growing up, and.
Yeah.
How did you end up here?
So let me tell you, I grew up very boyish. I used to sag my pants,
Really?
baggy pants. I was that.
Every girl has
Yo.
been through that.
Yeah, like I was that girl with the straight caps, hip hop.
Oh,
I was that
wow.
girl.
Oh,
like
wow.
where there was ciphers, I was standing there. Like I was that girl. And then in university, a friend of mine was like, there's a pageant called Miss Infidelity. Don't you want us to enter? That's like Miss Val.
Yes.
And she was like, don't you want us to enter? I'm like, but I don't model. I don't want to be caught up in heels and things like that. Ew, And she's like, no, just support me. I want to do it. So then I went with her for support.
Yeah.
And then I got through to the finals with her. And then when we got on stage, I was dancing. Instead of the modeling, I was just like jazz vibes,
like
dancing on
hip-hop.
stage. You know what I mean? Like I was that, because I was like, I can't model to save my life. What am I going to do? I got there as myself. Even with the finals, the pictures that we took, I had chains on my jeans because that's how I used to dress.
So you've always been stylish.
Yeah, okay.
That's how she looks at it.
I will take that. So then I get on stage and I do all of that. And then when they have to mention who top 5 is, top 3, and they're like, Mandisa says the queen. I'm like, yeah?
Which Mandisa?
Another one, I don't know. And then I got the crown there. And that was my first rodeo in 2009. I became Miss Mfuleni, Miss Val. And then I did Miss Gauteng, which I got to be first princess. And then I did Miss Tropica, and I think I got second or first princess. I can't remember, between there. Yeah. And then I was called in to do Miss South Africa. And I don't know what happened. My leg went numb. I couldn't walk that day. I have no idea why. Like, I could not walk.
You're kidding
and I had to leave. That time I was invited, guys. I didn't even enter. I was called for this, And my leg went numb. And then I was like, okay, that's that. We are good.
Maybe there's a reason for that.
Yeah, this is the last time. I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And then started working and whatnot. Life went on. And then Mrs. South Africa came to my radar. This was, I think, 3 years ago. I was like, I'm going to enter. But I kept feeling like I'm not ready. And I was still going through my pains at the time of what had happened in my marriage. And I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not sure if this is it. I'm not sure if I'll even be in the situation still, you know. So then the next year came and I was like, I'm still building a Maori woman. I feel like I'm not ready for it. And then last year, December came and I was like, you know what? Let's do this.
This is it.
It keeps knocking. There's a reason why this thing keeps knocking. And then I decided to enter. And here we are. There was 600 of us who entered. 120 of us got called in to come audition.
Yeah.
And then I found myself as a semi-finalist. And next thing you know, I'm a finalist.
Oh, wow.
But it is work, guys. Like, Mrs. South Africa is work.
I know.
Oh, it is
I was a semi-finalist in 2021.
Yo,
guys.
That thing will make you work.
That is not a beauty pageant. It is like
Work.
It's work.
yeah.
Ask me,
Ah, you know.
the husband.
And
Because you guys go through it
by
with
the way,
us.
it becomes work for the whole family.
Yes, yes.
Where your children are taking photos, your children are doing your campaigns.
Yep.
And for her, it's in the midst of COVID.
Oh yeah.
No, that was tough.
Yes, 2021.
2021, right smacked in the middle of
Yeah. But tell me about the growth though,
Yeah,
because
that's the part that I love about it is that the work brings in growth.
Yeah.
Because you become so intentional within the journey. Like, it's not about looking good. It's not about who's the best dressed. It's not about who has the best makeup. It's about what you genuinely want to pull out of it and what you want to bring to those who are watching. And for me, the growth has been beyond measure. It's opened doors for me. My confidence level spiked up so much. I've never felt so content within myself. And who God has called me to be. Like, I'm very unapologetic about it as well. I'm very confident in saying what I feel without feeling like, okay, this might not be deemed as okay, you know?
gave you a voice.
It literally,
Basically,
literally did. It allowed me the permission to be myself without any bounds. But beyond that, the amount of talks that I did, I was just like, God, my husband saw this and I didn't see it. Like, he's been telling me, you're going to do this. Just watch what's going to happen. Next year, you're going to be talking. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be preaching here. I was like, me? A whole me?
Do you know who I am?
A whole me? I don't know about this. You're not right. Next thing you know, when it's happening, he's like, but I told you this is going to happen for you. You're going to build something that was beyond what you could think. And what I love is that he literally stepped back and allowed me to just blossom before him. He allowed me to grow into my own as well. What I love about the journey as well is that it pulls you out of the roles that you are in and it allows you to come out, because we usually get lost in the roles, you know. I know when I had my first child, I got so lost in my role. Every single stage in my life where I found myself in a role, I got lost in it. But this forces you to come out and become who you are and be content with that and to expose that. You know, I just came back from Ethiopia, guys.
Yes.
Like, I was shook beyond measure, because in as much as, yes, they called me because of a Maori woman, but what I love is that South Africa gave me the platform to allow a Maori woman to blossom and to be seen by the world. It was... It's a journey well worth it. I call it my year of alignment. That's what I call this year. And even with my presentation that I'm going to do, that's what it is going to be called, because I saw God move in such a spectacular way. I wanted to do a fashion show for cancer survivors last year, and something stopped me. I don't know what. I was just so busy. There was just so much happening last year, and I didn't do it. So this year, my nanny got cancer. And she had to leave to go back home because she felt like she didn't want to heal this side. She wanted to go home.
Where was she from?
She was from Zim.
Okay.
So she wanted to go home, and when she got that, something just said, this is exactly why you needed to wait, because you need to understand what it's about first to see if this is truly it. And my cancer fundraiser was such a huge success. I saw God move in such a major way. It was not an event of fundraising. It was healing and hope and reminding those survivors that you are not that disease.
You are not that disease,
you know? And the women kept saying, are you sure you're giving us these clothes? Are they truly ours? You made this for us. I'm like, yes, this is a plan way before I even knew you guys existed. And that this is not of me. This is literally God moving and showing who he is. You know, this journey has been, it's allowed me the ability to be in the presence of people that I would have never imagined myself being in. You know, my name was in rooms that I had never stepped
You've never
into.
even stepped in.
Like, I was shook beyond measure, and to walk into those rooms and they're like, we've been waiting for you. I'm like, me?
Yeah.
A homie? You know, and it's God, man. It's a year where God literally showed up and showed off in major ways.
Yeah.
Like, it had to happen now. It had to happen
I
now.
love the alignment, and I mean, when you think of Ethiopia, I always think of those beautiful fabrics, and so for you, I can tell this was like, you know, walking into a candy shop and like, which fabric do I choose?
Purchase? I don't know what to do. And they're all handmade. That's the beauty of it. They're all handmade, and to be asked to come there. And they're like, no, all expenses paid. Just come as you are. Bring your clothes. We want people to model them. I'm like, excuse me?
Ethiopian models.
You understand? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it was my year of alignment. Like, honestly, so regardless of what the outcome is next week, I am truly just excited about what God has in store for me after this even.
I think you have done very well. I've enjoyed your journey personally, because I think one of the best things about this journey is how it gets you out of your shell and it makes you do things that you never imagined you'll do. And I think that's what I've seen you do, you know, over the past couple of months.
Sure.
And we wish you absolutely nothing else but the very best.
Is there voting for this? Okay, so
Okay, the episode is coming out
it's coming out like before.
Few days before, so who knows?
Yes.
Please vote for Mandisa Phuncu.
How do people vote for
Mrs.
you?
South Africa.
So how you vote
Do you
for
still
me?
remember your number?
Oh, yes. Oh, I have to remember that number. I need that number.
Yeah. Please tell them.
So all you need to do is say Mandisa Phuncu. So it's SMSing. It's Mandisa Phuncu to 47587. Please ensure that the spelling is correct, because if it's not, then the vote is deemed invalid. So it's Mandisa Phuncu to 47587, and SMSs are R3. And then if you go to my Instagram page, which is Mandisa_Phuncu, you will find my voting card. Please share it. Please like it. Interact with it, because that also helps a great deal.
And Phuncu, does it have an H or is it PU?
So it's PHUNCU.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Mandisa. Oh, that was absolutely breathtaking.
Absolutely awesome.
Truly enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
really,
much.
really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This platform, we open it for, you know, it's a space for vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's a space where we talk about family and things that affect family. Talk about marriage. We talk about love. You know, and I think you represented all those aspects.
Yeah.
You know, today.
Very
Thank you
well.
so much for your time.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I appreciate you.
And thank you for watching. Thank you so much for joining us once again this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you enjoyed this wonderful time with the Mandisa. We certainly did.
Yeah.
Until we do this again next time. Much love.